okay.
On your life.
Right, okay. So, I'm a little bit nervous about this one, but we're going to start. This is the Tezlom Podcast, and I am absolutely delighted to introduce this lady. This is Rachel Brooks. We met a few times, and one of them, I did a panel interview about leadership. And from that point, I was like, oh my God, when I start this podcast, this lady's coming on my podcast. So please reintroduce yourself and just tell us where you work and what you do.
I am Rachel Brooks. I am the MD of Swimtime, which is a national franchise business offering swimming lessons for children from our core age is age 4 to 11, but we also do babies and adults all the way up to, well, however old a person is.
That needs lessons. Is it anyone, any age to any lessons, is it?
Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, each of them are grouped by age, but yeah, from babies all the way through.
And how many franchises is there?
We've got 31 franchise territories.
Yeah.
Operated by 18 franchisees. So we've got a number of multi-unit franchisees.
Oh, I love that. Right, so forget about that.
Yep.
Part of that boring bit. It's interesting but boring. So I'm gonna go right back here and I want to know. I know you're from Manchester, or you live in Manchester.
I live in Manchester, yeah.
So let's go back to school.
Oh.
Okay. Were you brought up in Manchester?
No. I'll give you a potted history. So born in Grimsby.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Grimsby. Then we went to North Wales.
Okay.
And
well, how come?
My dad had done his university studies in Chester.
Right.
And was really keen to move back over there. He took a job there, and
The family went.
yeah. So the family went with him, and that's basically North Wales is where I did most of my schooling.
Oh, right.
And even had the opportunity. My dad was a teacher all his life, and then my brother came along. He was born in Wales, and my dad worked at a school that was dual language. So Welsh and English. And he was very keen that I went, and I said no, because I really don't want to be going to school where my dad's a teacher.
Yeah.
So my brother went with him, but I went to a different school,
Right, okay.
where I could walk to school and back every day.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So did you love school, hate school? What were your passions at school? Or?
Oh, sport.
Well, yeah.
Sport was my passion from the get-go.
Right.
So I enjoyed school because you're with your friends, but equally I found it quite challenging because I was 5'10" from about the age of 13.
Right, okay.
So all my friends were a lot shorter, which sounds really bizarre, but when you're in a group like that, I was like the one who would stoop, and I'd be bending my back trying to fit in with everybody.
Did you get a bit of pain for being tall?
Oh, I used to get so much stick, and I was literally straight up, straight down. I had no shape whatsoever. I was like a stick insect, and that was the good thing about the sports side of me.
Yeah.
It helped my physique develop.
Yeah.
A little bit too much in one sense, because I had quite a lot of success in athletics.
Oh, good.
And represented Wales a few times.
No, you didn't. Did you really?
Yeah. I've even competed for Great Britain.
Have you really?
I have.
Well, didn't know any of this. This is good, isn't it? What did you compete in?
Indoor hurdles, 80-metre hurdles.
Did you really? Love that.
Did. Yeah,
Oh,
just
wait.
the once. But yeah, but I competed.
Is it tough to compete at that level? Can you remember?
Oh God, yeah. The training's a nightmare. The training is a real nightmare.
Just give me a breakdown how you train for someone to be in a competition like that. How does that start?
Well, training 5 days a week.
Is it really?
Yeah, a lot of training. Very little social life.
So how old were you? Just like I'm jibbing through this like it's nothing. So I need to stop. How old were you when you did it?
I was 16. Yeah, I was 16 when I competed for Great Britain. Then prior to that, I mean, I'd started competing at county level at age 12.
Okay. Is 12 like a normal sort of age to be getting into it?
I actually don't know. It did seem to be for me. But I mean, I was always competing against children that were like 2 or 3 years older than me. But I did okay, and believe it or not, I was the Welsh shot put champion in the county, which is like, I kid you not, I rolled up to one event, and the judges like literally looked me up and down, and they went, "This is a shot put, love," and I went, "Yeah." I'm competing.
And you won?
Yeah, and I won.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But I mean, it
so
was...
you're proper athletic, aren't you? Like, really taking it seriously, don't you?
I did the pentathlon, so I did 5 different events. So I would do whatever the combination of events was at that time. So sometimes it would be like shot put, discus, long jump, a sprint of some description, and then like a 200 metre or a hurdle race. And then the 800, which I hated. I hated 800.
All this at 16 years old?
Yeah. I did love it. And I mean, even in one weekend event down in Cardiff, I entered 10 different items, 10 different races effectively, 10 different disciplines is the word I want. And I was absolutely on my knees, but I loved it. And I was so fortunate because I could genuinely turn my hand to any of the disciplines, high jump.
You said to me on message that this is going to be a boring podcast. I've got nothing to talk about. We've been going about 4 minutes. We got to 16 years old. See, what's screaming out to me is like the resilience you'll learn, and like the what takes determination to sort of do that, isn't it? Like, it must... I've never done anything like that, you see. So, no, I've never done any competing on any sport like that. I wasn't bothered about sport. I hated school. Did no sport. I never went to PE. Hated it.
Really?
Yeah. Never gone to any football. Never watched any sport. Don't watch it now. Still, yeah, not interested. But what I have learned in my later years, because my kids are massively into it, so they do taekwondo, rugby, football. Brilliant. They do them all. Yeah. And now it screams out. Now, I tell you, I did football clubs and stuff like that, in the summer holidays and stuff like that, but it wasn't really on my agenda. But my little boy, Logan, loves rugby. And my other little boy loves dance and drama. But yeah, what it does scream out to me is like sticking to something, making sure it happens, the tenacity of it all. Yeah. And I think that teaches you a lot, doesn't it?
It does. The thing I wish I had have had, because I did definitely have to learn to be very resilient. Yeah. But the thing I wish I had have had was somebody who could just say, it's fine if you don't win.
Yeah.
And take that pressure away and embrace failure, but turn it around to a positive, which is one of the things that I do with my boys. It's like, if things go wrong, fine, embrace it, learn from it.
Yeah, learn from it. What
can you do differently next time?
Yeah.
And if somebody could have said that to me, because I used to, little secret here, an inner thought, I used to actually make myself ill with all the nerves before I would compete. Because in training, discus, for example, in my training, I could smash records left, right and centre, beat my personal best on a regular basis. Put me in a competition, and I would be psyched out by other competitors. I would feel absolutely tiny. I'd really go within myself and get really, really hung up on the fact that, was I going to win? And if I came third, I'd be devastated.
Really?
I really found it really difficult to deal with because I didn't want to fail.
Where did that quit? You've ever sort of thought about where that come from? Is it from people who are training you, your mum and dad, or is it just yourself?
No, it's a combination of upbringing, definitely, because I had a very, very traditional upbringing. Yeah. And also my parents gave up a lot for me. We were a really poor family. Yeah. To the point that I do remember times where the money for the week was in a tin in the airing cupboard, and some weeks you'd go to the cupboard when you got home from school, and there would literally be 8 tin of beans left, and you were on your last loaf of bread. I genuinely can recall those times, and eating fish fingers and chips day after day because that was all we'd got left in. So for my parents to be able to fund me with my athletics, they gave up a lot, and I was always very conscious of that. They also ferried me around, left, right and centre. My poor brother got dragged along.
Yeah, become your taxi sort of thing.
Yeah, and a lot of competitions were weekend events.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of driving for them. So I always felt I owed it to them to win, and I wanted them to be really proud of me and to feel the things that they were giving up to allow me to do things.
Yeah. Are your mum and dad about now still? Are they still alive?
Yeah.
Do you ever talk about it with them? Do they say they were proud and stuff like that now as an adult? Do you have that adult conversation now?
No, not really. No, it's bizarre because I don't have that kind of relationship with my parents. They are very, very traditional.
Are they?
And which is why when I was like 18, 19, we didn't get on very well, particularly my mum and I, because my mum was a typical homemaker, not career oriented. Everything was about family, cooking, cleaning, super house proud. I just wanted to go off and explore the world. I just wanted anything bar conformity. I wanted to go out and see what I was capable of and what could I do. Yeah,
but it's sort of in the making, wasn't it? Because of all that sports, you built loads of resilience. You're like, well, I can do anything, or I could build myself up to do anything.
Yeah, that's it. I felt I could turn my hand to anything. I didn't feel I was a master of any one thing, and I still don't to this day. But I have had so many experiences in my life doing lots of different things. When I was doing a lot of athletics, I was also in the air training corps because I was going to go in the RAF. Believe it or not, that is what I was going to do. So,
how many years were you in the air?
I was in the air training corps for 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. And when I first joined, this is how old I am. When I first joined, it was male only.
Right.
And I was the second female to join the air training corps in the UK.
Wow.
So again, from a competitive side, I was like, yeah, bring it on. Doesn't matter.
I bet you put the cat amongst the pigeons a bit, didn't you, as well, because you were good at everything, like sports wise. I bet you put a bit of a challenge up, didn't you?
I did, and every challenge that was put in front of me, because back in those days, the air training corps was brilliant. So I got to fly in gliders, I got to do my wings, so I learned to fly. I did a lot of riflery. I was really, really good at riflery.
I can't cope with this podcast already. There's too much to cover already. Wow. So I love that.
Well, then we used to get things like opportunities to go to RAF bases and shoot on some of their ranges. And I was given an SLR, so a rapid fire rifle. And the aim of it all was to get 10 rounds within the space of a 10 pence piece. They were slightly bigger back then. Yeah. So the 10 pence piece, and you had to get all the rounds within that. And I did it. So I got an RAF Marksman award for that.
So we've been going about 10 minutes. You've won a limit. You're an RAF Marksman. Mega, that is. It's so good. I can't believe I'm blown away. But not that I didn't expect you to be amazing, but like some mega achievements all there at a young age, isn't there already?
It's all experiences, and I think that was the one thing my parents were really good at, was keeping me occupied. Yeah. Keeping me stretched.
I think it's paid off now in your later life, hasn't it? So I think that resilience piece, well, that's what screams out to me, is being able to coach yourself. Being coached 5 days a week, training at a young age, going in winning it for Wales, and and then also doing that as well. It's a lot of pressure at 16 years old though as well, isn't it? At 17 years old and 18.
Yes and no. I really enjoyed it. I love the team aspect of athletics. I did hockey as well, and I did netball. I did hockey to county level as well, but I was keeper at county level, so I did all the pads and everything on. But I used to love that because you felt absolutely invincible. Once you got your pads, your helmet on and everything, it was like, yeah, come on, you're not going to get past me. I am not a natural academic at all. I just work really hard.
Yeah.
And I used to spend hours revising for my exams. But I never had any aspiration to go to university.
Okay.
Because I was just, I don't know, I just knew it was the 3 years, doing something. I thought, well, no. So...
surprising that after, though, the commitment levels in sport, though, wasn't it, at the same time? Maybe you'd had enough, though, maybe.
I think it was because all I really wanted to do was sport.
Yeah.
But at that stage, I was doing an awful lot of training. Back when I was 16, and so I'd gone from this stick insect to a very muscular person. I had a dedicated coach, and unbeknown to me, I was packing on weight, and my dad was going, "God, you're not looking very feminine nowadays, Rach. You don't know what's going on. I think your training's like really taking over." And it turned out that my coach was giving me tablets.
Honestly?
I thought I was having liver supplements, iron tablets that he was giving me. Turned out that they weren't. So we parted company. And
I bet.
my dad was like, "You need to make a decision, Rach. It's sport or a career."
Yeah.
And even at that time, I was like, well, I know I need a career.
Yeah.
I have no idea what in, because I love sport so much. So then I was offered...
Not fancy the teaching, because...
Well, yeah, my dad had put me off that, though.
I did.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't like teachers, sort of?
He just like, there's better careers to go down. It's
right.
like so hard. And because there were so many rules and regs coming in. I mean, he would get a chair thrown at him, for example, and not be able to do anything about it.
Yeah.
You just had to take it on the chin.
So he sort of said, don't go into teaching, but let's find something you like.
Yeah. So I did the sport, and then I took like a gap year where I went to the States on Camp America Bunac, as was. And then at the end of that, I phoned my mum up and I said, "I'm not coming home. I've got lots of work offered, so I'm going to stay and just bum around the States for a bit." And she was like, "Well, who with?" And I was like, "Well, by myself." She was like, "No, yeah, it's not happening." I was like, "Yeah, it's happening. Bye. Talk to you soon." And so I went and I worked for an American football team in Connecticut. I then did some nannying in Boston, worked in a couple of bars in Washington, and then came home. And then I...
So... So you did...
Sorry.
Oh my God! Jesus Christ! So ambitious, I love it. It's so good, that, isn't it? So you just said, "Mum, I'll see you later. I'm staying in America. I've done my Camp America. Fuck you, I'm off."
Well, but, yeah, again, it comes down to opportunities. And while I was at the camp, I got to meet a lot of parents.
Yeah. My mate Stanish has done one of them Camp Americas. They are very good. He loved it as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend it to anybody that just wants to go and explore and see different life and meet people from different walks of life. It's just amazing. And I was over there teaching riflery, and because
on Camp America you teach riflery. Oh, cool.
So then, because of the gun culture in America. I was very much of, it's all about safety.
Yeah.
And I had never shot anything that was alive in my life. It was all target practice, That was all I ever did, and that's all I ever wanted, because that was the competition element.
Yeah, it's sport, isn't it? Yeah.
So in America, they were like, "Oh, you've got to come and work on our farm and like teach so and so how to shoot." And I was like, I'll come on your farm and, or whatever, and we'll see, which is how I ended up going to Connecticut and then working with us in the kitchens at the American football. And then...
So you met some parents, met some people when you were teaching the shooting, and you got a job in a kitchen in Connecticut in a football ground.
Because because I don't know if you've ever been to America, when you're younger... They are so like, come and work with us, come and live with us, come and do this.
Yeah.
And they're so genuine about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why not? If I'm going to do it at any point in my life.
Yeah, do it now. Yeah.
An amazing experience.
Yeah.
I mean, nannying in Boston and going around Boston, it was just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It was,
So how many years did that go
brilliant.
on for?
That was I was only there for 9 months,
Yeah.
10 months, something like that. But I mean, Camp America was only like a 6-week or 8 week.
6 holidays, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of that. So then I just stayed on doing bits and pieces, and then came back and did an HND at MMU.
So you moved to Manchester then, or not?
It was based in Crewe.
Right. Okay.
So I lived in Crewe. Yeah.
What did
So
you do
Crewe
your
and
degree in?
Alsager.
What did you do your degree in?
Business studies and sports.
Oh, right. Okay, sports
Yeah.
science.
Yep. So with the intention of going into the leisure sector, but then as we were going through it, I realised that the hours were highly unsociable, really inflexible, the pay was dreadful, and the career opportunities weren't brilliant.
Yeah, which is nothing you're about.
And I was just like, well, I'm not going to go into that at all. And then I can't even remember how this came about.
What are you now? You late 20s, early 20s?
Very early 20s. Like either 21 or something like that. And then I think I got my first proper job when I was 22, which was selling insurance for an insurance company based in Chester.
Yeah.
Because that was near North Wales, because obviously I had to go back home as a base. And
was that banging the phones? Was it in a call centre?
Oh man, yeah. When you say banging the phones, we were put in a room on a Thursday night, given a telephone directory, and it was hardcore, really hardcore. And one time I was below target, so a phone was sellotaped to my hand, and you just had to stand there making calls.
Cold, freezing cold calls.
Oh, massively cold.
Teaches you some lessons though, doesn't it, that?
Massively.
Yeah,
I
how
mean,
to think on your feet.
Abuse. Oh, I used to get so much abuse. And I totally get it. I mean, I'm the one now who dishes out the abuse. But
See, I've done exactly the same thing when I was in car sales, freezing cold calls and just pretending they were inquiring about cars and ringing people from years ago and blagging all sorts of stuff to try and get them in as an appointment.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when I'm teaching franchisees how to make, and they're relatively warm calls that we make, because you know the client, they're not freezing cold calls, but these were freezing cold calls, is that it doesn't matter when someone says no now. It doesn't faze me in the slightest. But if I put someone who's been in a career as a nurse and put them on the phone and they get a no, fucking hell, it cripples them sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I reflect on being 18 in a room with the Thompson directorate, making phone calls or ringing leads from years ago, and all that work I did then has now made me like, doesn't bother me in the slightest. I can make 200 calls, no problem.
Really?
Yeah, easy.
You see, I still wouldn't.
Yeah, we did it. There's one of the team here was, struggling on the phones. I just got everyone together. I hadn't made a sales call for 6 years. First phone call I made an appointment, told them exactly how I was going to go, just did it like it was nothing. So I really love that, resonate with you on that side. I think it's a good tool to have though, making them calls. I think I always say I think a lot of people should go into sales at an early age. I think it makes you resilient to a lot of real life stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's it. You hit the nail on the head there. I learned so many skills doing that, and most importantly, I learned what I did not want to do.
Yeah.
So I did not want to be doing that for a long... So I very quickly was highly motivated to become a manager so that I didn't have to do
the groundwork all the time.
So I was at 23, I think it was. That's when I got my first unit manager position. So I was managing a sales team. And then I moved, because the relationship I was in, I moved from Chester to London.
Just reflect on that relationship bit for a second, because we've not talked about your love life at all yet. And what have you had, boyfriends, girlfriends at this point, or were we up to mid-20s? We've not had any boyfriend mentions yet or anything yet, are we?
No, I had a boyfriend. Had a boyfriend who at think it was 16 or 17, wanted to get engaged. And I was like,
No.
yeah, okay. Had a chat with my parents. My parents were like, you're mental.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay. No, yeah, I get where you're coming from. So we didn't. And then he became a bit of a stalker when I did go away studying. And that was quite hard because he'd just appear. And he changed the registration number on his car to my name, things like that, which is all a bit...
That's what happens when you're an Olympic medalist superwoman. You get stalkers, Rich.
Hardly. So then when I was studying, I met a guy, and I just thought he was the best thing ever. And then we sort of went our separate ways. He was down south, but we still stayed in touch. And then I moved down south, moved in with him.
So this left your phone job, the sales job, and moved in with him, is that?
Well, yeah, because there were, the insurance companies in those days were like popping up left, right, and centre,
Yeah.
and it was unfortunately a bit like double glazing.
Yeah,
it
still
was
can
not,
be.
Yeah, it would. Yeah,
It still can be.
it wasn't heavily regulated at the time. It was the very early days. So I had an opportunity to go to work for one in London, and it meant a promotion for me. So.
And specifically went to move in with him as well at the same time.
Yeah,
oh, nice.
And also, it'd always been on my radar to live in London because, again, I think going back to what you were saying about young people, if you're ever going to do it, go and do it when you're young because just living in London is totally different.
Yeah, it's a different world of life, isn't it? So,
It really, really is, and I loved it. It was great for me then. I worked for a number of different companies. I'd be with them for maybe 2 or 3 years. If an opportunity came up at another one, then I'd move.
Whereabouts in London were you?
I started off in Wood Green, so North London.
North London. Is that like Islington area or where's that? I don't know.
No, it's it's next to. It's not next to. Is it Islington?
I don't know.
No, it is very north, but it's proper rough. It was then. And then I moved to Selhurst, South East London. Then I moved to Croydon.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Burheath, which is just
Is this
outside.
with this lad the whole time and just moving around different management roles and insurance?
that was he and I split up, and then I met somebody else, and he was based in Epsom.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if it's the relationship. I did stay down there, both for the relationship, but also for the work, because I really loved what I was doing.
Are you still in insurance and stuff for many years? And is this
Yeah,
up to your 30s sort of thing?
Yeah, I stayed in financial services, and then it became regulated.
Yeah.
So I did a load of qualifications and became qualified to give investment advice and mortgage advice as well. And then...
Where was this? What companies were this for? Did you have a team or what? How did you?
Yeah, well, I did. No surprises. I jumped around a bit. So I started in sales. I went to the customer service side, then with another company who specialised in pensions and large high net worth individual investments. I went on what was called a pension technical team. Yeah. So back then they did these things called executive pensions, basically a company pension scheme. So I used to go in and talk to the boards of directors and explain how pension schemes were going to work. I'd go in with a sales guy.
Is that to get the best out of the pension, is it? Or?
Yeah, to structure it and to work out how many employees they'd got, the average age of the employees, how big a pot they wanted, what did the company want to contribute, the most tax efficient way of structuring it, that type of thing. Yeah. And then, so from there, I then went back into customer service, but on a sales support kind of more sales support. And then I went for a role with Royal Liver Assurance, who were based in the Liver Building. Yeah. And they'd got branches all over the country, and they'd got a a management role, which was managing a number of offices, London-based. So I went for that.
How did you just talk about? I guess in that when you started off in that first sales role to being a manager and moving all these different roles, you manage different teams and stuff.
Yeah.
So how though I find that part of life, middle management's quite a difficult thing, isn't it? You know, I feel like going through that process of learning how to manage teams and relationships to client, you know, your teammates and learning about leadership. Is there any key moments you can remember about? They put you on the spot here. Any key moments about when you were growing your team that you learned some lessons? I always.
For me, because I'd been through sport, I'd been, athletics mainly individual, but then doing the hockey and the netball, so all team oriented. I seem to have a natural affinity for working out what motivated certain people and how they wanted to be dealt with. And I was able to translate that into my working life. And also through, I think because when I was in the Air Training Corps, I got promoted to a flight sergeant. And so I was used to managing people and getting them to achieve a task. Mm-hmm. So I translated that into a work environment. And I've really, and even today, which is why, you know, I do what I do, I love the people aspect of it. I love the team aspect of it. I've been told I'm a natural leader, and trying to achieve something with a team of people I just love that. And I love that. I love what makes people tick.
Finding out on a personal level with each team member. That's what I think about it as well. That's what. No one ever taught me about leadership. I just had been thrown into it, and I just started learning it over time and just understand, right, well, you have to find out what everyone's personal agenda is, I personally think, for leadership, and then help them find out what their next steps are. And I think that's actually, I did a post about it the other day, leadership is just actually genuinely caring about that person.
It is.
Literally, that is it. Just strip it right back. Is actually caring. And it's not pretending to care or not putting a facade on. It's actually having someone employing them, having them in your team and caring about what their objectives are.
And the tough bit is when they don't realise.
And you've got to teach them and coach them and go through with it.
And you've got to gain their trust. And it's like one of the things I always say to anybody that works with me, my non-negotiables are trust and loyalty. And professionalism. So, you know, those are the three core things that I hold really dear. And I expect anybody that works with me to do the same. You know, they have to share those values and they have to share that level of commitment. Otherwise, it's...
Reflect on that statement. Do you think that came from sport? Do you think that...
Oh, definitely.
Do you think that's been... I think it's like been your coaching all the way through. It's come all the way through, hasn't it? You can see it just gone all the way through, and then your independent streak as well. I mean, God, I distinctly, when you're saying that independent streak, that I can hear my dad now saying to me, you know, when as a kid you come home and go, oh, I want to do so-and-so, or I want to have so-and-so because such and such is doing it. And my dad used to say to me, but you're not them, you're you. What do you really want to do? You know, what matters to you? So I always had it reinforced from a very early age that I am an individual, I'm not a sheep. I do have my own opinion. But you've done that for your whole career, haven't you? For your whole life, you've done that already. You've just played it out, haven't you? That's been going. You can see it from just talking to you. So it's interesting. Sports is what's taught you all the things that end up in your career to help manage people, innit? And growing them teams in financial advisory. So you got this job in Liverpool, did you? Or did you make...
Yes, so I got the job in Liverpool.
Ditched the boyfriend in London, or did he come with you?
Oh, no, I married him.
Married him?
Yeah, this is this little funny story. So we'd been together for a couple of years, living down south still. And friends of ours were getting married in Barbados, and they wanted us to go out as witnesses. So a few weeks beforehand, he said to me, oh, we may as well get married while we're out there. And by the way, there's a hockey tournament on there as well. The rest of the team are going. It all coincides so we can play hockey and get married. And I was like, amazing. Fantastic idea. Let's do that.
Really? Doesn't sound like a Rachel thing, that to me.
It's so not a Rachel thing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. But did you do it?
Yeah, we did it.
Was it a big mistake?
Oh yeah, it was a massive mistake because even though his surname was Wright, he really wasn't Mr. Wright at all. Yeah, that was it. I mean, I learned masses through that relationship. A lot of painful stuff, but I learned masses.
Do you want to talk about that at all? Or?
Well, yeah, I don't mind sharing because I think it's
important, isn't it, sometimes, because holding down a career and being independent and being successful, but then going into a marriage that doesn't work takes its toll, doesn't it?
It does, and because, like I said to you before we started this, when I commit, it's 100% commitment.
Yeah.
And that is what I did, 100% committed, and then became very much aware that there is a really strong element of control, and I was just going along with it. And it wasn't until somebody said something to me one day, you go, really don't get why you two are together. That
word control with you seems weird to me as well, and I don't like it.
He is very controlling. And
could you give me an example or not?
Yeah, we went to, he was a very bright guy, really high career, and went to an event, and again, I was very slim, no boobs, and so I used to put chicken fillets, as they were, in my bra to give myself a bust. And I had this dinner jacket, proper DJ for a lady in silk. I mean, it was stunning.
Yeah.
And I put this on to go, and he looked me up and down, and he went, "What have you got on?" And I went, well, I really like it. It's really elegant. It's like, no, he says, your boobs aren't big enough. He says, you need to bump them out. So it's like, okay. So off I go. And I'm there going, okay. So I go off, get your chicken fillets, create a boob, are you happy now? Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And then while we're at this event, I'm aware that I'm being left on my own an awful lot. And then I'm only getting taken to meet people when he wants me to meet people and make him look good. And it was like, this is very odd. And then I think he was working away. I phoned him up, female answered the phone, and I was kind of like, this really isn't good. And so I called him out on it, and he was like, no, that's just a work colleague. I was staying over at her place. And I was like, yeah, right.
Staying in her house?
And because you just don't want to hear what you don't want to hear. And then I just thought, this is just wrong for me. We're wrong for each other.
How long did it go on for the marriage?
Only a few years, 3 years. I think we were married 3 years. Yeah. So then, literally, we parted. House got sold, and at that time, I got a contract to be in the Liver building with Royal Liver.
So it kind of worked out quite nice.
It did work out really well, so it meant
I'm surprised at you about that control, I am really surprised about it.
Yeah, but when you're besotted with somebody, and I very much was, not in a healthy way.
You just see, you don't
see it, you're just not
Love is blind, innit?
Yeah, it can be. It really, really can be. And I mean, I was fortunate because, wasn't physically violent or anything like that, but emotionally, didn't meet my needs at all, didn't make me feel good about me, didn't acknowledge me. So this is all me looking back now. Whereas like my husband now, the most amazing guy. We are such a team.
It's what you need, innit?
I never imagine not being with him, and also he creates the space that I have to allow me to be me.
This is deep. This is so true. This, isn't it, Rach? About being in a relationship. It's having someone in your life and building them up and supporting them to do what they want out of this as well. It's not just a one-way street. This. Right. And it's about control. Like, everyone's born independently. You're in a relationship. It's a two-way thing. Yeah. It's got to be like a bit of flexibility on both people's lives to accomplish what you want out of it. It's not you're not my trophy, and you're not gonna hold the house up, and you're not gonna be the main breadwinner. It's a two-way thing, and everyone should be. That's my personal views on it. Like it's that I'm surprised at that control thing, but I'm glad you got out of it. Like obviously, so.
Yeah. I mean, that it would have never have lasted at all.
So
I mean,
perfect timing. Straight back up to Liverpool, then
straight back up to Liverpool.
Did you move in with mum and dad again, or did you?
No. I had on this contract was I lived in the Crown Plaza for 6 months.
Did you?
Yeah, which sounds great, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I've lived in a hotel for 6 months. It was horrendous.
So hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
I got to know every single person that worked there.
What their shifts were.
Yeah. Making my own tea in the kitchen and everything.
Yeah, all of that. It was that part of it was hard but great. And then I got an apartment down Albert Dock.
Nice.
After a while. And then my contract turned into a longer term position. So I was given an acquisition. So with it being an insurance company, they wanted to buy part of what was then Friends Provident, and that meant bringing their products into Royal Iver, as well as another 350 people.
Wow.
So I went from managing and being responsible for a team of 150 to a team of 500.
Wow.
With a team of senior managers that work with me. And
some serious skills in there, Rachel. Like you say that in a breath, but I know what it's like just to manage a small team. So that must have been.
It was, but you've got lots of support around you.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a marketing team. I've got the finance team. You've got lots of teams around you. It's just pulling it all together to deliver, which is what I loved about the project. But then the flip side of it was that was at that time that was my first exposure to being given free rein to look at technology. So they wanted to move from a paper-based method of collecting to an electronic base. So that was part of my role as well. So that was when I was given free rein to see what was on the market, bring that in. So I integrated the people, technology, and the processes, and then they said, right, your next phase is to restructure it all because we need to whittle it down to a team of 250.
Oh, you know.
So I was like, oh, okay, right. So then at that point, you have to forget about the people.
Yeah, it's take the emotion out of it. It's horrendous, isn't it?
And that was horrible. And that's the worst thing I've ever had to do in my career.
I bet, yeah.
Is to be in a room where they're being told, half of you are staying, half of you are leaving.
It's just down to performance. Depends how many problems they solve each individual. It's horrendous, isn't it?
That was like the lowest point, really. Because I am such a people person, you know the impact it's going to have on some of them. And I knew some of them, and I knew their families
Did you do it yourself, or did you have a team? Everyone did it? Because a lot of people.
There was a whole team of us that did it, but I was there delivering the message.
Yeah.
So it was really pants. However, in restructuring, we'd been trying for kids for years, and it didn't come naturally to us. I fell pregnant literally at the time that all of this was kicking off. And I said to Chris, my husband, I said, I can't do this job, with kids, because it's so absorbing. Yeah, it's
full blown, isn't it?
So I restructured myself out.
Did you really?
As part of my restructuring, yes. So I took redundancy, restructured. And that was fine. And I was going to be an at-home mum.
Were you really?
Oh yeah, I was just
never.
Be
Don't believe you.
Mother Earth, and I absolutely loved it for about 6 months, 10 months, and then I got so itchy because it's like
having the kids, all right, all that goes swimmingly smooth and no.
I've had it. My first son, without too much detail. That was a total emergency situation. And then with my second son, yes, I went for it a second time. He was overdosed on a drug after birth, and I distinctly remember the consultant coming in at 4:00 in the morning, waking me up and going, Mrs. Brooks, I need to tell you something. Your son, unfortunately, has been overdosed. So the next 48 hours are crucial. So I was like, okay, how did it happen? They explained how it had happened, which in essence, it was just shortage of staff rather than the buddy system for administering drugs. This one poor nurse had been on her own. And it was just one of those mistakes that happened. So that was tough.
That's a still moment that makes the world stop still, doesn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And then having to tell Chris. Because it's like, how do I phone Chris up and go, you know
so
what,
he's at
you
home with the other
bundle
little
of
boy at the
joy.
minute. Yeah. Oh my God, that's horrendous. My missus had pretty tough birth as well with that first one, and it's very sobering. Very tough. People don't prepare you for that, do they?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, it's not something you want to get broadcast when you're heavily pregnant either, is it? You know what I mean? This could go horrendously wrong for you. So
it's not. I mean, and I'd like had the most perfect pregnancies. Up, most of it up to about week 36. They were both born at week 40.
yeah.
And both under quite stressful circumstances. And considering I was quite laid back about the whole pregnancy thing, and I was desperate for a natural birth.
Yeah.
I didn't want anything else. To the point that with my second one, I was literally begging the consultants, like, please just let me try. And so, like, we'll induce you. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And me and Chris sat there, and he's bouncing on the ball. I'm on the bed, and I'm like, this is wrong. I'm supposed to be on the ball. You're supposed to be sat there. Nothing happened. I was getting all the contractions, but nothing actually happened. So we had to have another section again that then went, it was
terribly
traumatic.
Yeah.
Very, very traumatic. But you come through it.
Yeah.
And it is all part of life, isn't it? And
Yeah. For women it is, yeah.
well, no, because men go through it
Yeah,
in a different way, don't they?
I was very traumatised at Jackson's birth. I remember that. It was beautiful, but fucking hell. Yeah, it's no game, is it?
It really, really isn't.
No.
At all. But it's part of life.
Yeah.
And
Are they both boys great, cool?
yeah, I mean, they're both cool. And I mean, Tom, who could have been deaf, we had to have tests, loads of tests for his first few years, but he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are the boys now?
Nate's 20 in May, Tom's just turned 17.
Both sporty lads or not?
Nath is rugby, Tom is karting.
Really?
Yeah, Tom is like I used to be, absolutely stick thin, and really, really good. Not into sport other than karting.
Yeah, go-karting.
Really, really into that. Nath, just shy of 6'7", 20 stone, rugby player.
Wow.
Down in Swansea, studying economics, but down in Swansea because he was offered a rugby scholarship.
Yeah, I love that.
So, yeah. But
Nice.
chalk and cheese. Absolute chalk and cheese.
Right, where are we up to with you now? I can't remember what we're up to. I lost it. So we've had the baby, you're pretending to be mother at home for 10 months.
Oh, yeah.
Losing your mind at this point, surely.
Totally.
So kids are a little bit older. What do you say to Chris? Can we put them in nursery? I need to go back to work.
So, kind of. A friend of a friend literally phoned me up one day and said, you're a doer. I need a doer to get my business plan off the ground. And I was like, okay, come round, tell me what it's about. And he told me his business idea, and I was like, we can so make that happen. Yeah, let's do it. And basically, he wanted to purchase a building, an old mill, convert it into artist workshops, exhibition centre, conference centre, really big, but one destination, multiple purposes, but predominantly around art.
Creative sort of stuff.
Yeah. And I said to him, well, I know nothing about art, so I will go off and learn. And I built a database up of a few thousand artists, all based in the Northwest, went and met a good number of them, learn about their trade, learn about all the various mediums that they worked in.
What's happened to the kids at this point? In the pram with you, or did you just put them into nursery? Or?
Nath was in nursery at that one, or with me.
Yeah.
And then, so it started out on that. We had a small team. We built a website. I actually drew the wireframe for the website. Never done it before ever, but in my head I could logically see how everything needed to work. Sent it to this guy, and he was like, "Oh, is it? What program have you used?" And I said, "No, I've just drawn it." I said, "This is how I see it working in my head." And he said, "Oh, that's a wireframe." And I was like, "Great. Can you make it into a website, please?" So we did that, and we got a load of artists involved, and we did some exhibitions, and everything was going in the right direction. We found a mill in Oswestwhistle. The owner loved the concept, wanted to sell the mill to us, and by this time we'd been...
Some mega mills in Oswestwhistle as well.
Yeah, really amazing buildings. And so it had been going on for the business for a couple of years, not taking money out of it, but put money into it. At the point we were about to buy the mill, our main backer, who we'd secured to purchase the mill, decided to back out.
Oh.
So we were left high and dry. So we had to get rid of our team, wind the business up, go through the whole liquidation process. We owned a marketing company, a chunk of money, which was excruciating because I'd never owed anybody anything in my life.
No.
Felt horrendous with no means of paying it back. He came to the liquidators meeting.
Oh no.
So to sit opposite somebody, that was rough. And that whole...
Learned some lessons, weren't you? Liquidating and laying people off as well.
I tell you.
Yeah.
That whole process was amazing. Such an eye-opener. But I took 6 months out, licked my wounds, because I felt like I'd let Chris down, because young kid. I was pregnant as well with my next one. To put money into something like that, and we were at a very early stage of our lives, and because we'd met later in life as well, we'd not got massive amounts of money behind us. So I felt like I'd let him down. My self-esteem took a massive hit, because for me it was a failure. Yeah. And it takes you back to how I used to feel as a child. Almost crippled by it. But learnt loads of lessons from it. So then another friend said, you need to just start throwing yourself into businesses. Lots of local businesses could do with your help, with somebody like you, with your experience. So I got introduced to business doctors, and this is how we get into franchising.
Yeah, okay.
So business doctors at that stage weren't franchised, but they took on associates. So I worked for them as an associate. So I went out to various different businesses.
How does that work? Is it like an interview process, like a job sort of thing? Just went for the job and applied for the job sort of thing with them as to become an associate?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. We just met, had a chat.
Why do you call them associates? Is it just a fancy name for an employee, or is it
consultant?
Is it just a consultant?
It's just another word for a consultant.
Right. Yeah.
So joined them, started working with a number of businesses. They were then starting to franchise the business. Excuse me.
Yeah, go on. I've drank all mine.
So that was my first exposure to franchising, and that was I was involved right from the get-go. So drawing the model up, the ops manual, training franchisees, recruiting franchisees, the whole kit and caboodle. So it's a great way to learn.
Okay.
And then at that time, because I was networking like mad to try and build up my own profile and gain some other consultancy work, that's how I met Barry and Linda, the original owners of Swimtime. And Linda said, we need to talk to you. So I went and did some work with them, as well as working with business doctors.
Stop. Right. Did you say, I was getting water at the time. Just go back to the talk about franchising with the doctors. Say that again. So you helped create the franchising model part of that for that as well?
Well, I was involved in that process. I mean, the owners they are obviously, that was in their mindset.
Yeah.
But in terms of the practical
building the operations,
and being involved in the recruiting the franchisees, the training of them, setting them up in their seminars. Matt and Rod owned the business, and I was very much, I guess, like the sort of franchise support person, really.
Yeah. Getting it off the ground and making it happen, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Operational role, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's very much what I'm about. You know, just tell me what needs to be done, and let's go off and do it.
I can manage a team around it as well, and make them film for autonomy purpose. It's good, and I love that about you. It's such a good podcast, isn't it? It's so good. Right, so you meet Swimtime.
Yeah.
So babies in nursery school.
Yes, they came. Well, the little one Tom used to come with me to quite a lot of meetings, and it would not be unknown for me to be sat there with him, rocking him in his car seat while I was like trying to have a sensible meeting.
Love that.
It worked, because I mean I worked everything around the nursery for Nathan, and feeding times for Tom, and nap times. So
determination, that the one it.
Just getting organised.
Yeah. Some people wouldn't do that though, would do it? That's the thing. Some people wouldn't do that. Like.
No, you've got to want to do it. Yeah. And I mean,
It's not easy, is it?
Oh, it really wasn't.
No.
But equally, I knew that if I'd have not done anything or tried to get a job, because I say a job, but I could do a job.
Yeah.
But because I'd got so many different experiences, and because of...
You need to be filled with purpose, don't you? You've lost your purpose at this stage, I think.
Yeah, and when you become a mum, you become a mum, and everything else just like drops off.
Yeah. And
you're so focused on that role of being a parent.
Yeah, trying to get it right.
Yeah.
I've no idea what I'm doing, but I'm trying to get there.
Well, you just do the best you can do, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, work it out as you go. So the boys have always been part of whatever I've been doing, but it's always been around them.
Yeah.
They come first, and everything else falls in line around it.
But you've made it work though, haven't you? You've not let it affect what you do. You've made the job work as well. At the same time, you've not just said, "Oh, forget it, I can't do it." You've made it work.
I mean, at one time I had, even with the boys, I think Nate had just gone to school, Tom was in nursery, but I had 9 clients on the go at that time, all my own clients in a consultative role. And that was hard. That's when I kind of went, I need other people around me. I need to sift out some of this work and get other people involved. So I used other people I'd met within networks. I would refer work to them, get them involved in different aspects. During that time as well, I met Pink Spaghetti. Yeah, Caroline and Vicky. So I knew them before they franchised, when it was just 2 of them. Then they came to me. I was actually doing a talk on franchising at a networking event, and they came to me afterwards and they said, "Oh, we've decided to franchise our model." And I was like, "Amazing. We'd like to work with you, but we're not ready quite yet." So I was like, "Cool, just give me the nod when you're ready." So they worked with a franchise lawyer and some franchise specialists to get all the groundwork done, get the franchise agreement. And then they'd franchised, I think they got their first franchisee. And then I worked on and off with Caroline and Vicky, as and when they needed me, to help literally map out how to get from this stage to this stage of their business, and what their roles and their responsibilities would be, and then what they would need to be to get them to here, and how to plug the gaps.
It's that information and that knowledge, no one understands until you get to that stage how important it is. I'm like that. I'm seeking out information all the time because we're growing our network and we get to different stages, and 5 franchisees can take so much more time up.
Yeah.
And you don't realise until you get there.
Yeah.
And then seeking out that information in the world to try and find it is difficult, and getting the right information and then taking it on board is part.
Yeah. And I think because I'd lived and breathed it, particularly with Matt and Rod, and watching the change in them, and even with Barry and Linda, you watch the change of the business owner to then going to a franchisor, and it's a totally different hat. So to sit with Caroline and Vicky, I could speak with knowledge of, yes, you started this business, but believe it or not, when you get to be a franchisor, totally different.
It's two separate businesses to a certain degree.
It really, really is. Your skill sets are completely different. You're going to feel very differently about your business. Whole different ball game. And I think for any business that wants to go down a franchising route, getting to that point of recognition that being a franchisor is totally different to managing the original business.
100%. Different
and it goes back to what you said in the beginning. It goes back to the people. Your people skills come to the fore, and that the people aspect of it.
It's a week, obviously, you know, at Tezlom, like our head office for franchising and the business itself are in the same building, and there's a crossover of roles as well for some of the team members. And even the way you talk to your team members and the different businesses is different. It is for me anyway. It certainly is. It's like some of the terminology used and the way we talk about things is different, and sometimes I'm constantly flipping the conversations and meetings and going through different things and how I approach different subjects, because some people don't think of it as a franchise. They think it as Tezlom, the healthcare recruitment agency in Southport that covers the northwest of England, and that's all they ever think about. They don't, and quite rightly within their role they don't. But so I've got to think, right, okay, take that off, put this out on, I've got to talk to them about this and that side of it. And then I walk out the room and walk straight into another room and go, right, we've got a conference next week, we've got the expo the week after, I've got 2 franchisees starting next week, and I've got a completely different mindset on how am I going to approach this and how I'm going to talk about it. And the phrases that come out your mouth are completely different to the conversation of the person on the ground. So I completely understand what you're talking about when someone's becoming over in their own business to being a franchisor. They don't realise until they get there. It's that value, that knowledge you've got is invaluable, and I can see why people would work with you. So what's the name of the people who own Swimtime? Barry and Linda,
they owned Swimtime previously.
Right.
So they started in 1997.
Right.
Franchised it in 2002.
And what time did you join them in 2000?
I started working with them in 2008.
Right.
Where they'd got, I think there were about 10 or 12 franchisees at that stage. But Barry said they'd hit a plateau. Mm-hmm. And they felt that the business had grown so organically, no structure, no processes, everything was done on a handshake. Which nice way
to do business, but
fab way to do business. Yeah, really, really fab way. And they absolutely lived and breathed it. And then in 2008, we then worked on and off for 2 or 3 years. Mainly working on strategy and processes and just getting the structure right so that it allowed them to do what they wanted to do, which was ultimately to sell the business. And then back in 2015, they brought me back into the business with the aim of helping them sell it. So at that time, I introduced them to people that I'd met along the way who
facilitated the
sale.
Were you still doing, what's the company called, Doctors? Were you still doing the consultancy work and you went in as a consultant?
I'd got my own consultancy. Right. I'd set up my own consultancy prior to that, Curvo Consultancy.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So I had a number of other people as well.
Oh, you did cover this,
that we just farmed work out to. But I mean, I've worked with all sorts of companies, driving schools, stem cell research, architects.
What's the main objective of each one? Has been putting operational stuff in from and helping them grow?
Strategy as well, identifying the strategy, trying to help them document what they can articulate, because often an entrepreneur, their head is buzzing with ideas.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And they lack structure. And whenever they see a structure as so restrictive, and they'll run a mile.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Whereas I seem to have a knack for working with people like that, extracting it and making it all make sense and coming up with a plan of action that will actually deliver what it is that they've got in their head, that vision.
What's it talking to the limbic part of the brain, getting the emotion out of it and making it practical, isn't it?
Yeah, very much. I am a very, very practical person.
Yeah.
Very practical.
So you joined them in 2015, and have you been the MD since 2015 or what?
No, I was still a consultant with them for 3 or 4 days a week. Back in 2015, it was 3 days. Then the sale went through, and I thought that was it. So, job's done. So go back to my consultancy and start working more on that. Met Theo. We talked about the future of the business and how he thought it could go. We identified that we shared very similar vision. I could see and articulate clearly the steps to get him to where he thought it could be. And so I stayed on, still as a consultant. Then became a director in, 2018, 19, something like that. Yeah, 2019. And then during lockdown, obviously swimming, everything stopped overnight, horrendous. We'd already started having interest in our software that sat behind Swimtime that we designed.
Interesting that.
And so we took it to market. So literally within 2 weeks of lockdown, Fanscape, a separate business, had started, and so then that story then started off. And then in June of last year, this is funny because Theo will laugh about this as well. He'd been saying to me for literally years, he said, look, you run this, just be the MD. And I was like, I've never aspired to that at all. I'm a doer, I'm not the front of the business person. You're that, I'm not. And he's like, but you're doing all the doing. And then in June of last year, I just relinquished because he just kept badgering me about it. So
beating you up every day, telling you to do it.
Yeah, the things you do.
I like Theo a lot. I'll have to get him on this podcast one day if he'll come on. I'm sure he will do.
I'm sure he will. Yeah. It's a really good team that we've got at the moment.
Just give me an idea what that looks like. How many is there at the head office?
On the Fanscape side, 13. So in total for Fanscape and Swimtime, we're a team of 18 now.
Yeah, very similar to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice team size as well.
Yeah.
Not 500 or 250.
No, because you know everybody intimately, and it's a proper team.
Where's is the office? Or are you all?
Shrewsbury is the main office, but our devs work remotely. They're all sort of Shrewsbury, Telford based.
Yeah.
But they work remotely.
Yeah.
And I work from Altrincham and just go down to Shrewsbury once or twice a week.
Yeah, good.
It's very doable.
Amazing. What a career. So good, isn't it? Done so much.
I've done a lot of things, yeah.
Blown away. I feel like I wanted to get you back on and talk to you about leadership and talk to you about building teams if you want on at one point.
Yeah, sure.
I think it would be really interesting to talk about maybe strategy and deep delve into that.
Yeah. I'm happy to. Yeah. I mean, teamwork is definitely something that I'm very passionate about and I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, I think I'm still on that learning curve. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years and getting better at it and learning. I think I only learn from the mistakes of things that go wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's how you learn in it. I don't think I can get coached. I like being coached. I've had a few people coach me and talk to them about how I should do things and brought some really good things in as well that have helped, like one-to-ones and making sure they happen regularly.
Yes.
But I think the size of our team, you know people so well anyway, and you have them conversations anyway, so you all know what direction people are going in.
Yeah, and I think that's the key there. It's having the conversation, because when people say to me, what's the real nugget? What's the key thing to business success? And I always say it's communication.
Yeah, just talk.
It really is communication.
Yeah.
And it frustrates the life out of me when franchisees won't talk to you.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time to encourage our network to talk more freely, and rather than set up WhatsApp groups and have a bitch and a moan, you know, it's fine to do that, but if it really bothers you,
talk about it.
Talk to us about it. And, you know, we may not be able to deliver on everything that you want, but if we don't have a conversation, we're not going to know. We're not going to have that opportunity to do something.
No, it's true. Okay, I'm done. I need to go and lie down. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey. I really, really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
But I'll definitely have you back on for more shorter podcasts, maybe talk about strategy and leadership.
Sure.
That's it. That's an amazing story. I'm absolutely blown away. I need to go and lie down. Thank you.
Didn't talk much about franchising.
That's the whole point. I don't want to talk about franchising.